Be sure and save that to the thing.
Look at my drinks.
I gotta get my drink. That's definitely going into the video.
This is our seneschal. I'm like, if only. This week has been crazy, and
I might when I get home.
The tiny
myself
TikTok
a little,
microphones.
Peach lemonade.
Okay.
so I'm not much of a drinker, like
snap
at all,
in like
and
so
I
that we can have like
shared with my sister what's been going on, like at work, and she was like, I know you don't really drink much, but like maybe you drink
That's it.
something nice.
The same.
Let's put it this way.
Anytime is the time to
Let's
start.
put it this
This
way.
is
I'm
in the
thinking
Meridian,
I'm
North
currently
Carolina.
working
Some
at
random
it,
person.
it's more
And it's like the only
and,
picture of
taking
me
half of the staff with me.
from in any SCA, like of just me.
It's
I knew that you were leaving the firm. I did not realize you were.
It's worse.
Ooh.
Yeah. It got worse. I didn't tell you about the worst stuff.
Hello, everybody.
I've helped you with that vibrate. Hello.
I am here to talk to you about heraldry. I am Sigourney Burka's findings daughter, and I am actually a herald, and I have been for a very long time. I've been in the NCA for about 40 years, and I've been doing heraldry for about 40 years. And started out very small, and it grew from there, and I currently am the Star Principal Herald, which is the Principal Herald for the Kingdom of Onsteora. Every kingdom in the SCA has a Principal Herald. Not every kingdom in the USA has a College of Heralds, but we do. We have one of the largest College of Heralds that there is. We answer to the College of Arms, which is the College of Heralds for the entire known world. So we're going to talk about heraldry. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what is heraldry. Yes, sorry, I get nervous. Heraldry is about three distinct things. It is about you personally, actions and activity, and display. SCA heraldry refers to the system of names, coats of arms, badges, and titles and activities used in the Society for Creative Anachronism, which is what the SCA is. And we're an international historical reenactment group focusing on pre-17th century world. This functions as a participant's medieval personal logo, ensuring unique identification in battle, at events, and for your person. And this includes your name and any other heraldry that you would have, and we will cover that in detail later on. We are historical, we strive for historical accuracy. While influenced by period examples from Europe, SCA heraldry allows for creative expression. However, all designs must pass through the standards for evaluation of the names and armory, which is SENA. You'll hear it referred to that, and that is the rules that we abide by. They are created and adapted based on historical reference, but specifically for the SCA. This prevents us from having too modern style of logos. It prevents us from placing copyrighted materials on our armor, and also inappropriate claims of who we are personally.
Which is the no Nazi rule, because seriously, don't even try it.
Yeah.
Catch it, the answer is no.
The SCA maintains its own active College of Arms to govern, design, establish guidelines, and officially register names and armory. Our kingdom has its own College of Heralds, and we do the same thing for our kingdom. Not all kingdoms have a College of Heralds, but all maintain a principal herald and a submissions desk. Sometimes those are one and the same, sometimes they're separate officers. The importance of heraldry is that heralds are utilized heavily throughout our game. They act as researchers, advisors, to ensure a degree of authenticity as it relates to everything. Names, devices, badges, titles, and everything that we see in our surroundings. Heralds also act as the voice for landeds, which are our baron and baronesses. In each baron or above, we have them in place. and you will act as the voice for those as well as for the crown. And on the field, our voices are at events, and they are moving and engaging. They also ensure an order of precedence is followed within arms, badges, awards, and much more. Basically, to summarize, heralds are scholars, researchers, masters of ceremony, ambassadors, and they transform our modern events into immersive medieval experiences. We keep records, and we ensure that everything runs accordingly. Every kingdom, region, and group needs to have heraldry in order to operate.
And in this room, you have the Kingdom Herald, the Regional Herald, and your local herald.
Your local herald, so.
My
Just saying.
boss and my boss's boss.
We have a lot of
Their entire upline, right here.
a lot of experienced people close at hand.
You know who to complain about?
Haven't gotten any.
NCA heraldry is about three distinct things. You personally, this is your persona name, your device, which is your coat of arms. It begins as your device, and when you receive an award called an award of arms, then it becomes your arms. It also covers your badges and your colors. Actions and activity, that falls onto heralds for site heraldry, field heraldry, court heraldry, and this includes silent heraldry and precedence. It also covers display, that's the third item. And we have display of heraldry in garb, in our pavilions, in our camps, banners, table decoration, fighting tunics, etc. There are a million things that we can put our colors and our armory on to display it, because that's us, and we want everybody to know that that's our colors and our things.
And my stuff.
Yes. Your personal heraldry, which we're going to refer to as consultation heraldry, is your persona development. We're going to cover that later with Lord Vosh. But this is where your historical self begins. The region of the world where you want to be from, and possibly your backstory. Your name, your persona's name, researched from the area of the world and culture that you desire. And armory, which is what I'm here to talk to you about, which is armory, devices, arms, a participant's primary visual signature. It's just like the Middle Ages, where the brightly colored symbols and the painted shields all began around the 13th century because they would have events where they would go before the king, and they would have a feat or a fair, and that they would have fighters come out and do jousting and fight. And back then, the best fighters were covered in armor from head to toe. Well, they all looked alike, and nobody could really tell who they were. So in order to stop that from happening so much, they started pinning a scarf on their arm of their color, or they would put scarves on their horses. And then at some point, somebody actually put their device on a cape. And so they would wear that cape out there onto the field, and they would meet their challengers, and they would show who they were. And most of the time they would take the cape off then, but that's how we gained the term coat of arms, because they would have their coats or their arms on a coat or on a cape, and they would show it to everybody. And then they started bringing them with their banners on them and everything else, and painting things on their armor and dressing their horses up in that type of thing. So, and then we took off from there when we found out in history, because of course we did.
So if you saw the movie A Knight's Tale, like they come out, they have their stuff on, and they put it on like a stand-up banner, and they're holding up the thing he was wearing, that's your coat of arms, literally.
Yes. And one of the things that you will find now in the SCA as you go to events is you will find that after the fighting is done, there are a lot of fighters that will have a armor stand. When it's on its own, it's just like, it looks like a wooden T-post, and, you know, it's like a cross. And when they're finished with their stuff, they will put their armor on it, and they will post their shield up against it. And so you can walk through camp and see and be like, that's where that fighter's camp is, and that's where that fighter's camp is. And so those are always really good, you know, noticing things so that you can find what fighters you're looking for. In the bearing of bgwlad, we do a wonderful thing at Gulf War, is we have a walk of honor. And in that walk is where we put all of the T-stands, and everybody puts their armor and their devices on them. And we also line our war shields up on there, so that if you see a war party in the melee for bgwlad, you will see that design on all of the shields that are there. And so you'll know where bgwlad is.
We also have a lot of fighters that at practice will wear their
Yes.
stuff with their devices and such.
If you came last time, not last week, but the week before, I think.
Yeah, Rosalind.
Rosalind was here, and she was wearing one of those tabards, and she had one of those shields, and that gold and white with the party color, and it had the tabards, the halberds on it, which is, halberd is for bgwlad. And those are what you will see lined up in that historical walk, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and as we discussed last time, if you join the war company, like, you'll get access to be able to wear like our surcoats, our tabards, and all that stuff. So we have a lot of branding. We look amazing. Welcome to the group, and we'll get you guys set up on how to make those for yourselves, so you can join in and have your Heraldry stuff wearing.
Yep. And for the war company, I don't fight anymore. My body can't. But I have a cyclist surcoat that was made in the war company like workshop. And I mention that to say, whether you fight, you have fought, or you intend to fight, or you're never going to swing a stick, you can absolutely still get the coolest tabard ever by joining in with the
I have a cyclist surcoat,
Yeah.
exactly like Your Excellencies, and I wear it to Harold's Point to work in on that day that we're doing melees and war and all of that. So now the other type of device that that we talk about is badges. Now your badge is a little different than your armory. Number one, it cannot be exactly the same. That is one of the rules. You cannot have a design on your device and transplant it to the badge, which is on a square form. You can make it differently because you're allowed to conflict with yourself, so you can add some things to make it different, but you can't have the exact design. And the badge, what that is for, is the device is you personally. That's you. That designates who you are, who your armor is, and everything. A badge is your stuff. Like, it can be your household. It can be for that. It can be for a pavilion that you're going to set up for people to sit under. It can be for, maybe you make favors for people that are in your household, or maybe you're in a club together and you want everybody to wear your badge. That your badge signifies that somehow these people belong to me. Somehow this stuff belongs to me. I am getting into archery and thrown weapons, and I have a badge just for that. So it's not my device, but it is my archery stuff, and my, and I have it on all of my thrown weapons and archery stuff. So it's your thing, and you don't have to have a badge. You don't have to have a device, but it's nice to have a name. So it's important for you to figure out a name, but you don't have to have any of the things if you don't want it.
And when we were talking about the war company, we said you'd wear the halberd. The halberd is what means bgwlad. That's the populous badge. It's the badge that everyone that's from bgwlad gets to use. So for this, it's a black halberd that has a golden star.
And you can't.
And you can buy it.
I have stickers.
We have stickers of it
Oh,
that you can
look.
buy.
If folks want to see what this is an example.
And you can put it on your cup or your stuff
like
and be like, I'm from
fabulous.
bgwlad. Just goes to
Oh,
bgwlad
that's
camp.
fabulous.
I can pass that around.
Yeah.
Because you're one of us.
But this is an example of the population.
populist badge.
Yeah, for brand. So congratulations and welcome. You all have the ability to use the populist badge.
Yes.
So you have your first badge, although it's not registered to you, but you get to use it.
Yeah,
wherever.
you can use it for whatever you want. It's your badge, you belong. So, so badges are fun in that way, and that's what they signify. They signify your stuff. The other thing that we can do with heraldry is the actions, activity, and generally that is voice heraldry or something similar to that. So, voice heralds beyond persona and visual design. It is heraldry in the SCA that is the spoken role. Now, voice heralds act as sight heralds. A sight herald you will hear at an event that they are the people that walk all over the event and give shout-out announcements, like at
Oh yay!
Oh, yeah,
Yay!
it's-
This will be starting imminently.
Yeah.
I am, a talkie herald. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Those people are sight heralds.
And they will say important things like armor inspection will begin at this time. Court will happen at this time. Fighters need to come together at this field at this time. A&S classes will begin at this time in this place. They are always giving instruction as to where things are beginning, ending, or changed. If there's any changes, we're going to send a voice herald out, a sight herald, and they're going to talk about that. The other one is field heraldry. Field heralds announce the combatants who are entering tournaments. The field heralds work very closely with the list ministers. They are sitting at a table and they're the ones who decide the pairings of the fighters if they're in that type of a fighting scenario. And the field heralds will work with them, get the names of the people, they will call and they will say, so-and-so and so-and-so make ready, so-and-so and so-and-so come to the field, and then they will announce who they are. They will introduce them one by one, and then their job is done. They step out back to safety. They do not marshal. We have marshals that are set up to do that, but they announce who the fighters are and in what order and bring them into the field and dismiss them from the field. And of course, they're off the field after they introduce them in, so there's no chance of them being hurt or anything. So also, when you have specific fights, which are crown tournaments, coronet tournaments, and things like that, heralds will lead in people. You can hire a herald, and you can say, I need for you to talk about all the wonderful things about me, because I'm going to fight in this battle, and I'm going to have this consort, and I'm going to win because I'm the best. And I want you to tell the entire kingdom, and especially the crown, how good I am and all the awards I have. And so you're going to come in order of precedence, and precedence means in order of the awards and titles that you have, the most one, the one that has the most stuff goes first, and the one that has the least stuff goes last. And so you line up in that order of precedence, and then your herald will just talk about how wonderful and glorious you are.
They're your hype person.
They are your hype person. And in the last 2 years, the best one that I heard was somebody that was bringing somebody in that had like 2 awards. They were at the very back of the line, and this was the first time they had fought in a crown tournament. And oh my gosh, that herald, I was ready to just be like, Your Majesty, just go ahead and take the crown, because you obviously deserve it by this word fame. So it's a lot of fun, and it's you get to do the acting, and you get to do all of the voice heraldry from your wildest dreams. So it's a good one. Then there are court heralds. Court heralds are the voice for the barons and baronesses. They are also the voice for royalty. And you go to court, and if you have been to an event, you have seen them. They stand off to the side of where the Baron and Baroness or the royalty are, and they read the awards and things that the crown gives out, or the landeds, and they call people up, you know, because we don't want our Baron and Baroness or our King and Queen going, hey, we need,
Hey, you
know,
guys!
Joe McDougal to come up here now, you know, because by the end of court, they wouldn't be able to talk, and they have more things, they have more important things to do. And so you have a herald that's going to call the people forward, and then they will come forward, and then you read their stuff. It's all very, you know, it's all very done very meticulously. Generally, the royalty or the landeds, they have written instructions as to who they want to see and why they want to see them and what they want you to say. And so, you know, you do that, and it's a lot of fun. It really is.
And you get to have a little improv, so you could be
Yeah.
like, you know, their Halberd Excellencies demanded to court so-and-so, because they've missed court like 4 times.
Only
They
allowed-
demanded them in court.
You can only demand people of specific ranks.
Yes.
There are certain ranks you're not allowed to demand, so.
That is true.
But yeah, so you gotta be
But
careful.
If you're gonna be that kind of girl, you're gonna,
What are those ranks? You cannot demand that a lion come to court, and I believe barony and up.
Yeah, I was like, I believe
You
it's
have to
excellencies and up.
invite them to come in. So anybody that is a court baron or baroness or
Or
and a
up, or
landed, you cannot demand that they come in. You can invite them into your court.
What's a counter a duke?
Pardon me?
What, a counter a duke also
They're-
cannot be demanded?
Yes,
Oh,
they're-
yes.
they're above.
no.
They're an excellency or above.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because a count or a duke has been king once or twice. So a duke's been king twice, a count has been king once.
A
So,
viscount has been prince or princess.
Prince or princess of
So,
a principality.
Because we have been
so,
named, so.
yeah. So we don't want to demand anything from them either, because they might be crowned again and just saying. Then this goes right along with silent heralds. We have silent heralds in the SCA, and what those are is in normal conversation, they're called sign heralds. Okay, we give them the term silent heralds. And what they do is they stand beside the regular herald, and they do sign language. There are several different types of sign language, but the sign heralds that we have right now all perform in ALS, which is American Sign Language, ASL, American Sign Language. And so we have 2 that are in the south central area around between Ravensfort and Lochsilier. And we have 2 of them there, and our actual Kingdom Silent Herald resides there. And then we have another one in, I want to say that she's from near Steps, and we had one in Ventame, but they've since retired. But there is a large amount of young people that are coming in, and by young people, I'm anybody below my age is a young person. So we have young people coming in all the time. They're contacting my office, and they're talking about doing sign language and stuff like that. It's amazing to watch. We also have descriptive heralds that falls under that guise, and we only have these in Onseora because I created it like 3 years ago when I was asked as herald. And what that is that's when we don't have a sign herald, or when we have people that have no vision and they come to court. You sit near them in the chairs at the front. We always reserve the front seat on one side for people with disabilities that are hearing impaired or visually impaired. And if you have somebody that is visually impaired, and I created this because I had somebody contact me that is who's been a long-term member of the SCA, and they reside in Steps, and they, due to illness, have fallen completely blind. And so they were very frustrated because they came to an event and they couldn't understand anything that was happening, because court is a lot of oohs and ahs. Like something happens and people are reactive and they go, oh! But nobody ever really says what's going on. If you can't see that the queen tossed a rose at somebody, or somebody ran up and hugged the queen or the king, or my favorite is when you go up to get an award, you kneel down and then you try to stand up and the king tries to help you and you pull him off the steps that he's standing on. Yes, I did that. And almost fell. Yeah. So you don't know what's happening. Yes. So I decided that it would be better to have descriptive heraldry. And you sit in the front row and then you just very quietly let them know. Lady Sonia has gone up into court and she's wearing a beautiful red dress. And Lady Sonia just received a sable falcon. And she is being congratulated by the crown. Can I help you?
How can you volunteer to be a descriptive herald?
How you can volunteer is every group has an event during the year, and if you're a barony, you generally have two. You have a spring event and a fall event. And you set it up with your local herald. And you tell them that you want to, whoever's stewarding the event, you tell them you want to have that first row at court aside for people that are either physically or verbally or hearing disabled. And you let the people at the gate know the same thing and have them ask them if they have, you can tell when people have sight issues and hearing issues, and you just let them know that there's a special place for them to sit. And then you as a herald get somebody else to help you. And then you go sit during court
I can tell myself to do it.
in that spot. Yes.
I will describe.
You just
this person.
volunteer, because I do it all the time specifically for that reason. And then you just go and sit. We have a DEIB herald that sadly is out of play right now because they had to have surgery. But they have gone to Stargate and done this at Stargate. Contacted the event stewards, got the first row done. You can also set up a pavilion on the corner of a list field and do the exact same thing. If you don't have a sign herald out there signing, which usually we do for queens and stuff like that, but you can take a dry erase board for those that are hearing impaired and you can write things on it. It needs to be brief, but still explain, like red, which would be tunic, John Doe. Red is John Doe. And the other one, put a name up there, maybe just a first name. And then whoever gets the bout wins bout 1, wins bout 2, and with a name, it can be done. And of course, if they're eyesight impaired, you can sit and you can tell them. You don't have to scream it. It's not a loud heraldry thing. I have done descriptive heraldry for someone taking a belt. I have done descriptive heraldry for court, and I have done descriptive heraldry for a scribal seminar before. And it actually works very well. So, but that all falls under sign language in Onsteora. And so if you see people doing this, or if you want to be involved in that, by all means, just contact your local herald, and they'll make sure that it happens.
So Onsteora also has, and it may be SCA-wide, but Onsteora also has signs that are created for
Yes.
Onsteora, for words that are SCA specific, Onsteora specific. I don't know that she's the Kingdom Sign Herald, Robin Elwood.
She's currently.
She is.
Okay, so
She is the silent herald. Yes.
Our Kingdom Silent Herald actually has a Discord
To learn
to
sign
learn
heraldry.
these signs. For a while, she was doing live classes, but she's a sign language teacher mundanely, and things got busy, so it's all recorded now. But if that is something that interests you, or if you know someone who shows an interest in that, you are more than welcome to reach out to me or to either.
And I
any
have,
of our other heralds.
I have a
who can hook you
huge
up with
log
that.
of things to help with signs for court. I'm not an ASL teacher, but I have packets of information that were given to me by the lady in Trimaris that used to be the BOD sign herald. And she gave me packets and packets. So there's things in there like, this is on Seora and stuff like that. And I've learned a lot from Robin. And so you can pick up little things like that so you can at least help out. Our Southern Regional, who is also our sigillarius, came up with signs that are
physical 2-foot
physical
by 3-foot
signs. And we have the SVGs for them and the JPEGs. And if any barony asks for them, we send them the information and where they can go get them made as cheaply as possible. And you just go have them printed, and then you can have them put on cardstock, and you can have them laminated. And then you have those. I did a full set for Bonwick.
So we have a set that's on corrugated plastic for bgwlad. So when we have our baronial events or anything like that, we actually have court signs that have all the Ounce Demorn awards, all of the Hell's Gates awards, and all of the bgwlad awards as well.
Yeah.
And this is something that's great even if you aren't.
And this helps
Yeah.
when we don't have a silent herald that shows up. They can stand up and they can walk up and down the aisle and show what award's been given, and on the back side of it, very briefly, it says what it's for: fighting,
Well, it says,
chivalry.
so the way the signs are listed is it has the award name at the top, it has the insignia, so whatever the picture is for the award, so you can see that as well. It says what level the award is, so if it's AOA, GOA, non-arbitrous, it says that, and then it gives a quick explanation at the bottom, and then there's color coding around the side of all of them, so if you can't completely read because you're in the backpack, you can see it's a green sign, so that means it's an AOA level award. It's a black sign, that means that it has the black border, that means it's a non-arbitrous award.
So that's one of the more excellent things that we've done in the last 2 years. Then there is, that's all for that type of heraldry. And then we're going to move on to display. I like to call it artistic heraldry, which is the art of heraldic display. And it can literally be anything and everything. It can be garb, and you can see up here in these examples, see the ladies' pictures over here. It can be as simple as wearing a tunic in your colors that, like my colors are purple and black and white. I could wear a purple tunic and trim it in black and wear, you know, a white something with it, you know, white pants or something. Or it can be a dress that, like a coat hardy, that is half one color and half another color. That's a heraldic design. If you want to go really far, like the ladies in the picture, you break it in half and you put your device elements on one side and on the other, or maybe your husband's elements on one side and your elements on the other.
Or yours and your consorts.
Yours and your consorts.
Or yours and bgwlad.
Yes, or just yours.
Yeah.
There's also ways to decorate your tents and your pavilions. You can make silk banners. Our Baron and Baroness happen to be the Kingdom pros on silk banner making. They teach everybody, and it's amazing. And so I'm sure they will have another class because they generally do. And so you can learn how to make silk banners, and they're beautiful and they look wonderful when they blow in the wind. I think everybody needs about 100 of them, and they're miraculous. Give or take, yeah. And you can be as creative as you like, but you could definitely put your colors on them in your device and fly them outside of your tent that says, "This is me, this is my tent." And as you can see, this wall down here, this is actually, I believe, at either Lily's or Penzic, and they were making a wall to rope off where their camp area was. And each one of those shields is somebody inside of that camp. And so they ran it completely around. I couldn't get a better picture than that, but on one of the zoom outs, goes completely around their camp. And so, and you'll see people do that at Gulf Wars and stuff like that. So it literally is artistic. I know that when I studied heraldry, it says that heraldry didn't exist until the late 1200s, the 13th century, and that was when the knights did it and everything else. But I have researched the art of heraldry. And I'm telling you that heraldry began when man began. Because I have seen art forms of many different types. For instance, the Picts. The Picts were around previously to, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a complete blank on BCE and BC. They were around BC and for about 100 years, 100, 200 years after that. And they would paint and tattoo flowers and animals on their skin, like all over. And then they would color themselves blue. So if you see somebody that's blue, it's a Pict. Well, I mean, if you can look at a culture and say, that's a Pict because they're blue and they have tattoos all over them.
Well, they're naked, blue, and have tattoos all over them.
And other things. But, you know, to me, that's heraldry. That's them. That's their group. That's them. They are taking ownership of that. They're showing people that we are together as this group. The Romans did the same thing. The Romans came in and they wore tunics with Coptic designs on them. And those Coptic designs told what armies they belonged to, what groups they belonged to, what households they were in. Well, I think that's heraldry.
Yeah, every single one of the legions has an animal that's associated with it, and the Roman rules for that legion.
Yeah, and so you could,
and a color.
you could look at them in their garb and find out and know exactly who was fighting you, what group they were from, and why and where and everything. And so to me, that's heraldry. So don't get stuck and think, oh, in order for me to have historical heraldry, I've got to be Eurocentric and it's got to be around 1300. No. You go worldwide and you make it what you want to make it, and you color it the way you want to color it and make it yours.
As long as it's within the rules of heraldry. There's some rules on those colors. Okay.
Now for your resources, I handed out a packet that it says at the top links when doing consultations. This does not mean you have to use this for consultations. I'm not requiring anybody to do consultations. But this is what I carry with me when I am teaching heralds to herald. And it's got really good information on it if you want to look up your own heraldry. You do not have to have a herald help you. It's beneficial to make sure you stay within the lines, basically the rules. But it's got a lot of different links that you can go to and learn about names and professions and cultures and towns, and you'll find out more about that when Vosh gets up here and talks to you about your persona play. But this will help you with everything, and it will even help you fill out your submission forms and stuff like that. So it's a very good piece of paper to have. And when I submit this onto the the drive, so that you can go back and look at it, because heraldry is a lot of stuff. I will also include in there the name, and I think I did include it on the back of your handout, the name of your local herald and their contact information, your regional herald and their information, and my address. Now, these offices do change every 2 years, so if you decide to set this down and not pick it up for another 2 years, those emails are still good. You're just going to get a different person. So, okay? Or you can always just come back to your family, to your barony, and ask any one of us, and we will help you. So. Any questions?
And then when we have this digitally, you'll be able to click on the link. So you're not going to have to type out all these names.
Yes, if you, yeah.
That is a great picture. And that's our sign.
That's our sign, Harold.
Robin.
Yes.
Okay, do y'all want like a minute to like stand up
You wanna go
that
pee,
while?
do
Yeah,
anything?
like I don't have to dive right into it. I'm gonna take that as a no. Okay, so I also have handouts. These are shamelessly stolen from Master Hugo van Arlo. of Callantyr. I have about a million of them. So even those of you who are not newcomers can also have them. So Hugo Van Harlow, his website is no longer active, but I've had these saved for like 3 years. And I found it very useful when I was first starting. And apparently he at least used to teach like actual classes like in person on this. However, I have never had the fortune to go to one. I'm going to leave these here for you. Just you want one? Yes. And, okay. So, pardon. So, I am Lord Vasil Bathory, more commonly known as Vash. I was the local herald for 2 years, and then Quinn took over for me. I have been in the SCA for a little more than 3 years. This is my third time teaching this class, so we'll see how this goes. I'm significantly more prepared this year than I have been for the last 2 years, though, so we'll take that. I have been interested in Persona basically the whole time because it's a very unique thing as far as like historical reenactment goes because of how like in depth we go about it, which is not super surprising because this is like the nerd game to end all nerd games.
Nerds, yeah.
Very research heavy, but the great thing about Persona is it really kind of is what you make it. Okay, so very, very basics. What is a persona? When it really comes down to it, the persona is whatever you make it. Basically, what people will start with is like a culture, a vague time period, and a name. That is the bare minimum. And the reason that we do this is to try and immerse you into the thought processes and the lives and all of that for the era. And so period for us is pre-1600-ish, anywhere in the world. You'll hear discussion about, oh, is it 1600, is it 1650, whatever, 1600-ish. So part of, yes.
When we're talking about devices, badges, and armory, we only go as far as 1600. But when you're talking about names, we will go into the gray areas, what we call it, and we will go to 1650 because a lot of the times that we find information, it's because of death records. And if somebody died as late as 1650, there's a good chance they were born before 1600. And that's the reason why we have that. But it's only usable for names, and that's to 1650. So there's the reason for that.
And so the reason why I say that your name, your culture, and your place are the bare minimum is because there is a huge swath of things that you can apply your persona to. So the A&S projects, fighting, garb, your heraldry,
How you
act, languages you learn, any of it. Or you can just be so-and-so from wherever. That's it. It's all good. It should be fun and rewarding for you, and it should be something that kind of sparks your curiosity. In my experience, finding that persona, I want to research more and more into the culture and the politics and the literature and all of that, simply because that's where I've chosen what I'm from. So you'll hear people talk about persona play, and that's pretty much exactly what it sounds like, in that it is the actual, being of your persona. So like I said, some people will hyper specialize into certain areas of like study or certain styles of fighting, and they will tie everything that is their whole SCA everything into their persona. And that's what we would consider somebody who does like heavy duty persona play. Or you can go that very low, like, I don't want to say low effort because it's not, but that very like low level, I have a time, a place, and a name, that's all I really need. I'm going to dress however I want, I'm going to study whatever I want. And maybe persona play is not your main priority. Maybe it is doing whatever you want. Your persona is what you make it. Don't expect anyone to make a big deal about it. People are going to be interested in who you are and why you're interested in things, but no one's going to give you any, like...
Flag.
Yes, thank you. I was like, slack? No one's going to give you any flack if it's not something you really care about. Everybody knows somebody on either end of the spectrum.
And so by being here at all, you are, whatever your first name is, of
Of
bgwlad.
bgwlad.
Congrats.
Congrats, you have a persona.
You have a
You can
persona.
stay like that forever. Yes.
What if I pick a persona and I'm from a culture that I've studied and I pick a name and I register it, and then a couple of years later, I'm not happy with it? Do I have to still be that person?
So I'm very glad that you asked because that's going to come up.
Yep.
So actually, specifically on this slide. Okay, so so these worksheets that I handed out, they will be in the Google Drive as well. And so if you lose it or you want to do multiple because you've got a million different ideas, those will be there. Very basic starting tips. Look for persona worksheets. You can just Google SCA persona worksheets. That's how I found these 3 years ago or whatever. And there are going to be all sorts of different like thought experiments and things like that that you can go through to kind of figure out what you're interested in and how deep you want to go. One thought exercise that Anya, our chatelaine, actually found is from Midrealm's Facebook group. It is if you put a toy boat in the nearest river and it went all the way to the sea, where would it end up? Just a very basic, like, thinking about where am I from, what's connected to it, what would theoretically travel between me and the ocean. And you also, like as Carlotta said, you don't need to worry about this immediately. You can be whoever bgwlad
For as
forever.
long as you want. In fact, there are people that are, like, so Thomas of Tenby, who came and taught you guys 3 weeks ago, he's been Thomas since forever. That's his persona name, and he is a Lion of Monsiora, and his name is Thomas. Whatever, right? And so you don't have to get deep into it if you don't want to. There are people that are peers that are whatever of whatever. No one cares. Yes.
Just because I'm the kingdom principal, I get a lot of name stuff. People come to me with submissions and name things. And there is actually a person in our kingdom that has a name, they have their first name and they're of someplace. And they are changing it to of Onsteora right now, or actually their group. But they have lived in 5 different kingdoms, in 5 different groups. And in every group that they lived in, they were so-and-so of that group.
That's amazing.
So every time they move, they change the back end. And I had never seen this before, but I talked to them and asked them, I said, if you've been, she said, I've been in the SCA for 50 years. And everywhere that I have lived, I have been of that group because that's what makes me feel like I belong. And I thought that is absolutely fabulous. And so now they are becoming who they are of the group that they are. And I'm very excited for them.
Well, and it's historic as well. So like Occam's razor, William Occam, that Occam is not his last name. That's the city that he's from. Oh. Because you didn't travel outside of your city very often. So.
And that's something I'm going to touch on as well.
Yeah.
So, and Sigrun's example is really good because it shows you that your persona doesn't have to be static. If you have a persona for 30 years or whatever, and then you decide, actually, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to be someone else, do something else, that's fine. You can just do that. You can just decide you're someone else. It's great. It might take people a little while to get used to the new name or whatever, but like, once again, no one's going to give me flack for it. We have a former member of the Onsero populace who actually is either about to be or just became the king of Glenarden, Louisiana, who I think up until right before I joined was his SCA name was Liam. He's Valhammer now.
He decided to become a Viking, and
Right.
so he became a Viking.
And he was
a
Liam
late
for...
period- He was a later period sword fighter, and then was like, no, I want to get in touch with my Viking side. So he went from late period to early period.
He was Liam for like a while.
Years. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody does it. It happens.
He went through 3 evolutions of Liam, because Liam is short for William.
Mhm.
And so he had 3 different last names. He went through 3 different evolutions of William and Liam. Yeah. And then he decided he wanted to be
Wilhelmer, all of which are sub-genres of William, because Wilhelmer is still William.
yes.
The example I've actually gotten here is somebody in our variant, who's actually here tonight, Master Juan Carlos.
Juan Carlos Texian de Saldana.
So
Spanish
his-
personas want all those patronyms and matronyms in there.
Juan Carlos is not actually registered in the heraldry books because it's a recent change. He also changed his name right before I joined 3 years ago. He was Jovianos Scleros.
Jovian.
Yeah, he was Jovian. So that is what is still in our order of precedence.
Actually, they're both in order of precedence.
I think he updated.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Okay,
They're both
it was
in there.
it was probably recently enough that
He actually put it,
Yeah. No, we had a fun, Crown reached out to us because somebody had submitted a recommendation and they're like, is this a new person? Like, who is this Jovian? Like, we don't know what this
Jovianos
is. Like, and we're like, yeah, I'm sorry, that is the master of the laurel. He is not new. Let me connect the dots for you.
Well,
Over
and
here.
speaking of Persona Play, so you guys weren't here when what happened to Jovian happened. So Jovian has, so in this particular barony, we take Persona Play very seriously. So we have an award called the Silver Chalice that is for Persona Play. Okay, so Master Juan Carlos and Zakaria are both people that have gotten this award. So when Jovian decided that he was going to become Juan Carlos, they had, he was kidnapped. And Mistress Zakaria was like, oh no, my husband has been kidnapped and was in mourning. He got killed after he was kidnapped. It was terrible.
Oh.
And then this, very tragic. And then this individual who happened to also be Spanish, like Zakaria, came in and found this and quickly absconded with Master Jovian's money.
Twist, he
Yeah.
was the murderer
all
all along.
along. So that's also, you know, like a fun thing that you can do with Persona Play as well. So if you decide to switch from being one persona to another, so Thomas of Tenby has 6 different Thomases. They're from different time periods. They're all named Thomas. So if he's wearing his monk stuff, he's Thomas of Tenby. If he's wearing his later period stuff, he's a different Thomas that's like the great-great-grandson of Thomas of Tenby. Even though monks didn't have kids, whatever, just go with it.
Master Aubrey does the same
same
thing.
way.
Your own
Um,
lineage?
Yes.
Yes. So Master Aubrey does the same thing. Where if you see Aubrey and he's Aubrey, he's Italian, French.
He's French. He's
French.
He's French.
Sure, typical musketeer.
Yes. Yeah. Very very musketeer. But also sometimes you'll see his family member, Aubrey, who I think he usually does Korean.
Yes.
Yeah, so like you can get silly with it.
There's Korean and Japanese. But yeah, and you can have multiple personas. So technically I have kind of 2. It's interesting. So in period, it's actually a thing where you can be non-binary. My particular persona of Escarlata, being a highborn female, can't run the family business, because in the time period in Spain, women can't run businesses, and that's complete nonsense. But lo and behold, I'm one of twins. My parents had a boy. His name is Sebastian. Sebastian can run the business. No one has seen Sebastian Restaurant in the same room, but no one cares, right? So
I've seen them in the same room.
have you really? And so I have this male persona, so it's, you know, me with a different hat on, but it's also very period to have people that would pretend to be two people, or in the period that I'm from, in specifically like England, they call them roaring girls. So have a person that was born female, assigned female at birth, but then would have this male persona that they would play out to be able to gamble, act on stage, do other things. So I built into that, having done that research, and so that's part of my persona. So everyone's like, are you really two personas? And I'm like, no, the whole time. Like, Sebastian is Escarlata, wink, wink, Sebastian. And that's part of the actual character. So when I'm male presenting, I'm Sebastian. But really, it's Escarlata all along, so we all know that.
It's like Victor Victoria.
Yep. So you're all in on the joke.
So now we get into the meat and potatoes of it, which is developing your persona. The first like couple of things to keep in mind when developing a persona is what it is not. It is not fantasy. This is, as much as this is a LARP, even though nobody wants to say it, this is not like a high fantasy orcs and elves and that kind of thing LARP. It is also not, it's not, we're pretending to be famous people in history. You are not William of Orange. You are not Robin Hood. You are someone brand new. There are like fringe cases where people have chosen a name and it's ended up being someone extremely niche that nobody ever talks about, but ostensibly was connected to an important family, that kind of thing. Whether they know it or not. For example, this is my favorite example to trot out because I don't know that he knows it. So John Drake, our current king, Hob remembers this. John Drake, our current king, actually shares a name with the significantly less well-known brother of Sir Francis Drake. However,
No
John,
one is mistaking them.
Nobody is going to be like, oh yes, clearly you're trying to be Sir Francis Drake's younger brother who died in obscurity. That's not a thing. And like I said, stuff like this happens, it's whatever. As long as you're not trying to be, for example, William of Orange, Sir Francis Drake, Robin Hood, you're probably good. So, first step, at least for me, was to choose a culture. My persona is Hungarian because I found the area that Hungary takes up in our period to be extremely, extremely interesting because you have a lot of influence coming in from Italy because Hungary had a very close relationship with Italy, but you're also getting a lot of influence from like the steppes culture, not like Dallas, the steppes, but the steppes cultures and, you know, Eastern Europe.
It's like
and
Asia plus Eastern Europe. It's like a hotbed of everything.
Yes. And you get a lot of influence from the Middle East and like the Byzantine area. So I was like, cool, I can do a little bit of everything and it all fits, it all works. So once you have your culture, which can take however long you want, like I said before, it can be anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. A lot of people that you see will choose Europe. However, I know people who do like South and Central America, people who do Asia. I think that I know a couple people who also do somewhere in Africa, like anywhere.
And if you want help with research on any of those, like I have a lot of fun with this, so come talk to me.
Yes, I don't know if you can tell, but I love persona. I love researching persona. Yes, so please talk to me about it. I love it. So once you've got your culture, once you kind of know vaguely like this area is interesting, now it's time to narrow down your time period. So pre-1600, but where do you go from there? And this is another one of those things where I went and so I knew I vaguely wanted to be in like the Hungary-ish area. And so I looked kind of at the broad history of Hungary and what was going on in the arts and what was going on in the politics and what was going on in the military and things like that. And I found an area in that range that I thought was the most interesting and that I thought I would have the most fun researching. And then I also took into account the kind of garb that I felt like I could make or I could find.
Important to think about.
Right, because if I don't feel like I can make like high Italian like velvets and silks and purling or whatever, like I'm gonna choose somewhere that isn't quite that extravagant.
Because you have dawn of man through like high Renaissance. Those
Right.
are your choices.
Um,
So you could be dawn of man wearing a loincloth, and that's fine because that's your persona.
And I have seen it.
Yeah.
Um,
There are plenty of people that do it.
Yeah.
Or you can be completely high class, like to the nines, court garb, crazy rich Italian or whatever.
Yes, sir.
However, the persona and the clothes that you like do not require you to be able to make or find those clothes to choose that persona.
Yes.
I've been a Razio for a very long time, and I've had Italian clothes for a much shorter period of time.
So as part of, you know, thinking about the time period of your garb, for example, it is important to keep in mind you can wear whatever you want. Nobody's going to be like, oh, well, you're Hungarian. Why are you wearing Japanese?
Because it's hot outside.
Because it's hot outside.
Welcome to Amsterdam.
Fabric
Everyone
also
is Roman for 4 months out of the
for
year.
4 months of the year.
Only 4.
But also, like, nobody, in my experience, nobody says, Horazio, you're Italian. Why aren't you wearing Italian? Like, no, we don't. That's not a thing. Like, folks are just like, no, I'm so glad you're here.
Nobody cares.
You look great.
Nobody cares.
Like,
You'll get like a, oh, you look
yeah.
great. How did you make that? Where did you get that? Nobody's going to be like, why are you wearing that?
Yeah, there's no barrier. on
No.
what you choose to wear.
And something also to keep in mind when you're choosing a time period and choosing kind of how you want to narrow down like garb and things for that time period. Are you willing to make it out of linen? Maybe it's velvet in period in Texas. No, it's not.
That's
No,
exactly
it's
what I
not.
was going to say. There is we are the Society of Creative Anachronism. And anachronism means these
Out
are
of time.
things we build ourselves. These are things we build.
Yep.
And it is out of time, out of space. So you have to think about the fact that we live in Texas and there's Oklahoma and we go to other places and you absolutely, you'll never catch me in velvet or anything like that. And and I'm a Viking. Okay, so I'm supposed to wear layers and long sleeves and wool. And I do not. I wear wool maybe 2 weeks out of the year, and that's only if I'm in an air-conditioned building.
The great
So,
thing about the
yeah.
fact that we live in Texas, and there are so things you'll very rarely hear me say, and there are so many different people who do so many different cultures, is everybody has some kind of tip on how to stay cool
Pro tip.
in whatever culture you want.
And
how to minimize layers and maximize the effect.
My favorite was think of your persona and think of what they would wear if they lived in Texas.
If they were forced to live in
Yeah.
Real Phil 117.
You will see German personas that wear shorts. Those little bloomery things that they wear that
German
have
booty
the,
shorts.
Yeah, they have the landish neck things on them and stuff. Well, when it got hot there, they wore shorts. They wore
With no tights.
lederhosen and stuff
Yeah,
like
with
that.
no tights
So-
underneath. So we're talking
literal
booty
booty
shorts. They're
shorts.
literally this long.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
literally this long.
I saw the
Historically,
first time
they
in Ball
did
Brothers.
wear those, so you can't get stuck on just the massive court garb of thick and all of that. If you want to wear that, by all means, but you're not going to want to wear it to every event because our events are outdoors and they're hot.
Right. So, your garb is something to consider when you are choosing a time period. There are workarounds for, you know, if you want to do like the high Italian Renaissance or whatever, but you're like, it's a bajillion degrees outside, what am I going to do? There are workarounds for that. You can do whatever time period you want, and there's going to be someone who can assist you with whatever. Time periods will also affect things like the spelling of your name, the way that your name is like formulated, things like that. So if there's a particular spelling of something that you like, if you already have a name in mind, you might narrow your time period down based on that. That's kind of how I did it. I knew vaguely the name I wanted. I knew vaguely how I wanted to look. And so my time period became very small very quickly. Next. So once you've got your culture and your time period, then the easiest next step is to go straight for the name, because that's going to basically dictate everything else. Because, you know, for example, my last name, Bathory, literally means of Bator, which is a very particular town in the north of Hungary, kind of on the Polish border. And so a lot of my influences come from that area. You'll see more of the northern Hungary, like where like the Polish influences and the Ukrainian influences, obviously where they are modernly. The map did not look the same. More so than I would have, for example, Byzantine influences or Italian influences. So choosing a name is probably the most research-heavy part. And onomastics are wildly complicated, but there are some really great resources, and there are some people in the area who are really, really good at them, and who really like onomastics a lot.
Onomastics is the study of names.
Yes, I apologize. I apologize. And so,
Definitely not me.
Yeah. Me.
Like I said, there are resources in the back of the PowerPoint, including some of the ones on like various dictionaries of names and things like that, so that you'll have like a place that you can go to like start looking at things. And something to keep in mind is now that you have your culture, you have your time period, you have an idea of what you want your name to sound like, pretty much every culture has a different way that names are formulated. And this goes for the modern times as well. In the US and in most like English-speaking countries, it's going to be your given name, maybe a middle name, and then your surname. In modern Hungary, for example, and in Japan, it's done surname first and then given name. And that's been a thing for a very long time. So I actually used Sigrun as my example for this, because yours is a very, very good one. Because a name in period is going to be given name. And then there are multiple different types of surnames or bynames that there can be. So there are locative ones, which is going to be basically where you're from in the context of where you are now. So I'm Batore because my persona no longer lives in Bator. So I am known as Vassal of Bator because that's the identifier for which vassal I am in my new town. There are patronymic, or I guess patronymic, I haven't really seen a lot of this, which is basically your parents' first name and then son or daughter. And there are...
And if you're Spanish, you get both!
There are a lot of different formulations for this. And then there are descriptive ones. So Sigmund, for example, if you met Sigmund, his by name is Rotbart, literally Redbeard. Because the reason why you had a by name or a surname in the medieval era was at its core to identify which one you were. Three siblings. We have to tell them apart somehow. This one is originally from Aachen. This one has a red beard, and this one's a blacksmith. So, Sigrun, would you like to talk about the various bits and pieces of your name? Because this also extends to the titles that you use.
My first name is Sigrun, and it's Swedish, Viking, early Viking. I am from Burka, the island of Burka, which is where the first, there was a huge marketplace there, and it was very busy, and it was a point of trade for many countries for about 200 years before it ceased to exist. And so the island of Burka, Burka means birch, and birch trees grow there. And so it wasn't written in historical documents that it was called Burka until the 1700s. And so I couldn't be from Burka. So I am Birka, B-I-A-R-K-A, meaning Birch Island. So I am Sigrun of Birch Island, and then Sveining's daughter. My fourth great grandfather's name was Svein. His name was Svein, and so I decided, his name was Svein Svanson. This was his name. And I decided that I was going to take on my actual lineage. So my fourth great grandfather's name was Svein, so I am Sveining's daughter. So I am Sigrun Ibirka, Sveining's daughter. So.
Very good example of all of the different things. On here, I do also have Fru, which is Sigrun's title of choice. Obviously, we have Lord, Lady, Armiger, Noble. There are a lot of different ones. Those are all the English equivalents. There's a very, very delightful chart on the Society Level College of Arms site that has the various, it's like a little chart that's got like the different levels of title in like the plain English basically, but then it's also broken up into, here are the alternate ones for other languages. And it goes down to the point where like when a title is, it's not just like Lord whatever, Lady whatever. If it rearranges the way that the name is actually like done, it includes that information. I use Lord primarily because I don't want to deal with the one that I would actually use, which would be, so I would be Vasalur, but that's just going to lead to a lot of confusion. Which brings me to the next point that I have about names. I don't know that it's actually on here. It is not, that's fine, leave it there. So something to take into account when you're choosing a name is how are the heralds going to slaughter it? What nicknames might you end up with? And are you okay with that? For example, there are quite a lot of people who have very, very Viking names or very like Welsh name. Welsh is a big one, where it is not something that everybody is necessarily going to be able to just look at and pronounce immediately. So part of what you need to look at is when I am like cold looking at this, how am I going to mess this up the worst? Because if you can think of it, they won't pronounce it like that. The other thing is nicknames. It tends to be a thing.
How will they shorten your name?
How will they shorten it?
Will it be offensive? Because if it is, that becomes your nickname immediately.
Will it bother you? So a very good example is obviously myself. My actual SCA name, Basil Bathory. Nobody calls me Basil. I feel like I'm in trouble if people do, because it's very much become like when your mom's upset with you and then calls you by your full name, because everybody calls me Vash. The way that came about, there's no reason why Vasil should shorten to Vash, except for the fact that nobody could remember a Hungarian name. And so I got people all the time looking at the yellow glasses and looking at me and being like, it's Vash, right? Like the stampede. And I'm like, sure.
Fine.
Yeah, whatever. I love Trigon. That's fine. It's okay.
It's fine.
Doesn't bother me. And some of you all may have met him, Fifi. His full given name in the NCA is Fyodor. I know all of 3 people who call him Fyodor.
Fyodor Grigorovich Gordetets.
Something like that.
Fedor
Um,
Nikolaevich Gordetz.
Yes. Pretty much everyone calls him Fifi. I don't know how it got started.
I do. Effing new guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I did know that much. Right. So it's one of those things where be prepared.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Well, Escarlata did a great job because they chose their own nickname because Escarlata is a nickname.
Well, so you know how he talked, or it was, you pick your name first. Okay, so if you're me, you pick the name first, but you do no research at all whatsoever. Because who cares? I don't have to worry about my persona name. So 20 years ago, I was like, cool, I'll be Escarlata. It's a fun name, like whatever. Now, I did have a friend that was like, well, they might call you Scar. And I'm like, no. I'm just going to say my name is Escarlata. Everyone's just going to say the words Escarlata. It's going to be fine. And so I did that for a while. And so my name, like as Escarlata de Granada, it means I'm from Granada, Spain, which is the region of Spain where I'm from. It also means red pomegranate. I like pomegranates. It was funny, like whatever. When I went to actually bother, because I finally got my AOA after 20 years, and I went to actually put in my name, they were like, yeah, Escarlata wasn't used as a name. So like, you can't actually get this name. And I've been going by this name for 20 years, so I'm like, what am I going to do? And so I came up with an actual like Spanish name. So my actual name is Yolanda Tisha Falcone Zubi Zamorano, right? No one's going to say that. So what I do is Escarlata de Granada is a title that was given to my family. So I'm Yolanda Tisha Zubi Zamorano, comma, Escarlata de Granada. Because in Onstiora, because I'm here selling stuff, my family sells a fabric that is called Escarlata fabric, and my family is from Granada. So it's a nickname. They're like, oh, the person that sells the Escarlata fabric that's from Granada, that's the person I want to talk to. Because no one living in Onstiora, because Onstiora is Roman-based, is going to say an entire Spanish name that's 7 words long. But I have a completely perfect Spanish name that has the matronym, the patronym, the saint's name, whole 9 yards.
And it's tied the thing that people are going to call you forever and ever and ever
Yep.
into the persona.
Yep.
Yeah, so like, be prepared, keep it in mind.
Yeah.
So
You can play and have fun.
it's not very serious. We don't really take things
Be a
seriously.
silly little guy.
Well, and
We keep it silly.
if you want a joke name like the one that I built, there is a friend that we all have that has a list of joke names that they have like come up with that.
Someone's named Nobody. That is their actual
Yeah,
name.
we've got Andrew Nobody, and we have Andrew Somebody now.
I'm Goblin. I am Hobgoblin.
I know.
Straws.
So, in the last like 6 months, somebody successfully registered Tiffany.
Oh, yes.
Which is cheap.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because College of Heralds has lots of rules. Like it has to meet all the rules of historical and documentary. Like Tiffany passed.
There are ways to
But-
work around things.
Heralds
As long as you're not
love
hung up on
love
spelling
to break
or
the rules
Yeah.
without breaking the
The
rules.
exception to the exception to the exception. So if we want to talk about this later,
Love
like,
a loophole.
I'll show you my heraldry. It has the unscripted stars all over it because I found an exception to an exception. It's great.
Yeah. So, but if you have any questions about like names, cultures, things like that, talk to a herald. Any herald. If they don't have an interest in that, if they don't know, they will send you to a different herald. Like Escarlata mentioned earlier, we have an entire award dedicated to persona play. There, you can go on a bgwlad's website and look at the awards and look at that list of people, pick any one of them and be like, I want help with persona. And they'll be like, it's the Silver Chalice. So once you've got your name and your culture and your period, you can flush it out from there. That's like bare minimum. The
Or
worksheet,
you can not and just be a time traveler.
yes. The worksheet that I gave you has some general things for like, here's some stuff to think about. Here's a place to write it down. The back of the little booklet I gave you has questions. So like thought-provoking, like where and what and who and how. So take a look at that. It should help. Once you've got your idea, you've got your name, take it for a test run. You don't have to stick with it forever. people are definitely used to swapping names for people. Everybody comes in without a persona and gets called by their mundane name for the first however long, and then swaps to a new one. Everybody, there's one exception. Everybody that I met in the SCA, I originally introduced myself to as James. I'm Vash to everyone now. It's not a big deal. Switch it up, try new things. If you don't want to be like, yes, I'm so-and-so to the world at large, find a couple people you know. Find your newcomers.
And they'll be like, this is insert whatever here, and oh, that's your new thing.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, since you're new, we don't know who you are. So if you're like, I am whatever, we never have to know what your mundane name is.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool to get to introduce newcomers by putting their persona in the Halberd, our newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get jazzed and you like come up with your persona,
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, good to know.
so yeah. Or it could be something else.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
that's cool.
and so our chronicler is Marcella. So Marcella didn't know what region, time, place she wanted to be, so she picked a Roman name, which covers most regions and times and places. And it may change to something else. Who knows? But yeah, so she's Marcella of bgwlad. She's been playing for a couple years, but
The world may never know.
Yeah. No, I think that's the last slide, probably. Oh, no, okay, so out of detail, there are questions. There are also questions in the back of the thing. I don't know that I necessarily need to like read these out. Should you?
So we've covered a lot.
Yeah. Here are some options. There are some options. Go crazy.
one thing to think about is, do you already know a language? So part of the reason that I went with a Spanish persona is I already know Spanish. And I don't just know regular Spanish, I learned Castilian Spanish when I was in school because I had a very fancy Peninsula teacher, so I know the actual Spanish pronunciations. Great, you don't have to do that.
So something to keep in mind though is a lot of the sources that you'll find will be in a different language unless you're going a place that spoke English primarily. Which for some things are easier to translate than others, and if you need to, for example, reach out to a museum or whatever, some areas, the museums will be easier to contact in English because you don't know that language than in others. For example, I do a good example of having a persona but doing something completely different. I do a lot of Japanese. I do a lot of Japanese clothing, a lot of research for like Japanese stuff. I have not braved the depths of trying to contact Japanese museums yet because I don't speak Japanese at all. And trying, I don't have the guts. I don't have the guts to try and reach out and like slaughter my way through the language to like be like, I'm looking for this specific thing. Versus some of the Hungarian museums that I've reached out to. It's been fairly straightforward because most of Europe also speaks English as a second language, and it is significantly easier to pick up the bits and pieces of a new language that is written in like our writing system than it is to pick up something along the lines of like Arabic, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, any of that. Cyrillic.
Late in
Yeah, so just something to think about regarding like regions.
And also think about different regions that had chief influence of the English language later. So if you wanted to pick something that was in India, pretty much everybody in India speaks English to this day. Like I have family that's from there, my actual stepfather, but most of them won't be able to speak English. In major parts of Africa, the same is also true. So don't be afraid to think about that if you're going to be picking a location.
I wanted to kind of dial us in just a little bit because we can talk about personas forever and the niches when it comes to cultures and stuff because we're coming up on time.
Yeah. This I believe is the last slide. So I mentioned earlier, you're fighting. That can, if you are a fighter, that can also tie into your persona. There are plenty of people who have done oodles of research on the various different cultures fighting and like what the armor looked like and things like that. In particular, Malwin Jaw out of Hell's Gate.
Who is here tonight?
He is actually here today, you're right. He has done a huge amount of research into the various like armor types in different areas. There are people that we can direct you to, there are people that can direct you to other people, that kind of thing. So if fighting is one of your interests, you can also work your persona into that.
And if you go to one of Melvin's workshops, he has a sheet not very dissimilar from one of this that's like, what do you want your armor to look like? Who are you fighting for? Who are you actively fighting?
Yep.
What rank are you in your fighting, et cetera, et cetera?
Like everything else with Persona, you don't have to do that. So you can wear whatever you want on the field that you can afford. You don't have to have the fanciest, coolest, insert whatever the heck your kit.
Yeah, you can always work up to it.
Yeah.
Persona and how much you invest in it, how much you role play it, how much you wear, build, buy, use, is all opt-in. It's a, if it brings you joy, dive down the rabbit hole.
And if it doesn't,
it's
that's
not
fine too.
required.
Cool. So these are the resources. They are on the panel side. That's going to be in the Google Drive. I've also included a list of people in the area, including Hell's Gate. That would be great to talk to. I am also somebody who's great to talk to. I did not put myself on there because that felt conceited. But I love talking about this, if you couldn't tell. But yeah, these are all, I think most of these people have silver chalices. They're from all sorts of different areas. Excellent people to talk to. If you need anything, if you want any help, if you just want somebody to run ideas by, talk to me, talk to their heralds, talk to their excellencies. That's pretty much it. Are there any immediate questions? Cool.